Have you ever been treated like you don't matter by your own family? Today I'm sharing a story about Rachel, a woman who spent 29 years being overlooked and dismissed by her relatives. They called her a failure, erased her from family events, and treated her like she was invisible. But what they didn't know was that Rachel had a secret that would change everything. When her brother's military ceremony arrived and her name wasn't on the guest list, nobody expected what happened next. If you love stories about justice and people getting what they deserve, please hit that like button and drop a comment below. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more incredible revenge stories like this one. My name is Rachel, and for 29 years, I lived as the forgotten daughter in the Hayes family. While my siblings received praise and support, I was the one who always seemed to disappoint. My parents made it clear from early on that I wasn't living up to their expectations. Growing up in Millbrook Heights, I watched my older brother David excel at everything he touched. He was the star athlete, the honor student, the one who could do no wrong. My younger sister Amanda was the family princess, beautiful and charming, always getting whatever she wanted. Then there was me, average grades, awkward, and constantly reminded that I wasn't measuring up. When I turned 18, I made a decision that shocked everyone. Instead of following the path my parents had mapped out for me, I joined the Navy. My father's reaction was immediate and brutal. "You're throwing your life away, Rachel," he shouted that night at dinner. "The military is for people who can't make it in the real world. You're just proving what we've always known. You're a failure." My mother nodded in agreement. "We had such hopes for you, but you keep making these terrible choices. How are we supposed to explain this to our friends?" David laughed from across the table. "Maybe the Navy can straighten her out." "God knows we couldn't." Amanda just rolled her eyes. "Can we please talk about something else? This is so embarrassing." The next morning, I packed my bags and left for basic training. Nobody came to see me off. Nobody called to wish me luck. It was like I had simply disappeared from their lives. At boot camp, I discovered something about myself that my family had never bothered to notice. I was good at this. Really good. The discipline, the structure, the challenge, it all clicked for me in ways that nothing else ever had. While other recruits struggled with the physical demands and mental pressure, I thrived. My drill sergeant, Chief Petty Officer Williams, pulled me aside during my third week. "Hayes, you've got something special. Have you considered officer training?" I had never thought about it. In my family, I was always told I wasn't smart enough for leadership roles. But Chief Williams saw something different. "I think you're wrong, Chief," I said quietly. "I'm not officer material." He frowned. "Who told you that?" "My family. They've always said I'm not good enough for anything important." Chief Williams was quiet for a long moment. Then he looked me straight in the eye. "Hayes, families can be wrong. Dead wrong. I've seen a lot of recruits come through here, and you have the potential to go far. Don't let anyone else's opinion of you become your opinion of yourself." Those words changed everything for me. I applied for officer training and was accepted. When I called home to share the news, my mother's response was predictable. "Oh, Rachel, don't get your hopes up too high. You know how you are with these things. Just try not to embarrass us." I stopped calling home after that. If they weren't interested in my successes, then they didn't deserve to know about them. I poured all my energy into my career, determined to prove, if only to myself, that I was worth something. The years flew by. I specialized in naval intelligence, working on classified projects that I could never discuss with anyone. I was promoted rapidly, earning respect from my peers and superiors. I led teams, made critical decisions, and slowly began to believe that maybe Chief Williams had been right about me. But the silence from my family continued. No calls on my birthday, no Christmas cards, no acknowledgement of my achievements. It was as if I had never existed. Then, 15 years into my career, I received a promotion that would change everything. I was being fast-tracked for Admiral, one of the youngest officers ever considered for such a position. The ceremony was scheduled for a month away, and I found myself wondering if I should reach out to my family. But before I could make that decision, my phone rang. It was Amanda. Rachel. Her voice sounded surprised, as if she had forgotten I existed. Oh my God, I can't believe I found your number. Listen, I need to ask you something, and please don't make this weird. My heart jumped. Maybe they finally wanted to reconnect. Maybe they were ready to be a real family again. What is it, Amanda? David is getting married next month, and we're having this huge ceremony. The thing is, we're trying to keep the guest list small, just close family and friends. So we were wondering if you could maybe not come? I mean, you've been gone so long, and it might be awkward for everyone. The words hit me like a physical blow. After 15 years of silence, the first contact from my family was to uninvite me from my own brother's wedding. I wasn't even invited in the first place, I said quietly. Right, well, that's what I mean. We just want to make sure you understand. It's nothing personal. Nothing personal. After everything, they still saw me as nothing. But what they didn't know was that in 2 weeks, I would be receiving news that would shake their perfect little world to its core. I hung up the phone and sat in stunned silence. Nothing personal. Those words echoed in my mind as I stared at my apartment wall, covered with commendations and photos from my naval career. 15 years of service, and my own family still saw me as an embarrassment. 2 weeks later, I was sitting in Admiral Peterson's office when he delivered news that would change my life forever. Congratulations, Captain Hayes, he said with a broad smile. The promotion board has made their decision. You're being promoted to Rear Admiral, effective immediately. I felt my breath catch. Admiral. At 33 years old, I was one of the youngest officers in Navy history to achieve this rank. There's more, Admiral Peterson continued. Your first assignment will be overseeing the Pacific Fleet Intelligence Division. You'll be based right here, but you'll be traveling extensively. This is a big responsibility, Rachel. The Secretary of the Navy specifically requested you for this position. As I walked out of his office, my head was spinning. I thought about calling my family to share the news, but Amanda's words still stung. Why should I tell them about my success when they had made it clear I wasn't welcome in their lives? That evening, I decided to focus on my work instead. I threw myself into preparing for my new role, studying intelligence reports and meeting with my new team. For the first time in years, I felt truly proud of what I had accomplished. 3 months into my new position, I received an unexpected call from my old friend, Lieutenant Commander Sarachin. We had served together early in our careers, and she was now stationed at the Naval Academy. Rachel, I have some interesting news, she said. I just found out that your brother David is getting married. The ceremony is happening at the Academy Chapel next month. My heart sank. How do you know about that? His fiancée, Jessica, is the daughter of Commander Brooks. She specifically requested the chapel for their wedding. The whole thing is being treated as a military ceremony since the bride's family has such strong Navy connections. I felt a mix of emotions. My brother was having a military wedding, something that should have been a source of pride for our family. But they had made it clear I wasn't welcome. There's something else, Sarah continued. Commander Brooks specifically asked about you. He heard your last name and wanted to know if you were related to the groom. When I told him you were David's sister, he seemed surprised that you weren't on the guest list. They don't want me there, I said quietly. Rachel, you're a Rear Admiral now. You outrank almost everyone who will be at that ceremony. Commander Brooks would be honored to have you attend. I thought about it for days. Part of me wanted to show up and prove to my family that I had made something of myself. But another part of me knew that it would just cause drama and hurt feelings. In the end, I made a decision that surprised even me. I would attend the ceremony, but I would stay in the background. I wouldn't announce my presence or try to steal attention from David's special day. I just wanted to see my brother get married, even if he didn't want me there. The morning of the wedding, I put on my dress whites and all my ribbons and medals. Looking in the mirror, I saw a confident naval officer. not the awkward girl who had left home 15 years ago. I drove to the Naval Academy with my heart pounding. When I arrived at the chapel, I could see the guest list being checked at the entrance. My name obviously wasn't on it, but I had called ahead and arranged to enter through a side entrance with Commander Brooks' permission. I took a seat in the back row, hoping to remain invisible. The chapel was beautiful, filled with flowers and decorated with Navy banners. I watched as family members and friends found their seats, recognizing some faces from my childhood. Then I saw them. My parents walked in, looking older but still carrying themselves with the same air of superiority I remembered. Amanda followed, stunning in a bridesmaid dress, laughing with other wedding party members. None of them looked in my direction. The ceremony began, and I watched my brother David walk down the aisle in his dress uniform. He looked handsome and happy, and for a moment I felt genuinely glad for him. This was his day, and he deserved to be celebrated. The wedding proceeded beautifully. David and Jessica exchanged vows, and there wasn't a dry eye in the chapel. Despite everything that had happened between us, I felt emotional seeing my brother so happy. After the ceremony, guests began filing out for the reception. I planned to slip away quietly, but Commander Brooks spotted me and approached. "Admiral Hayes," he said with a smile, "I'm so glad you could make it. I was hoping to introduce you to some of the other officers here." Before I could respond, he was leading me toward the reception area. My heart started racing as I realized I was about to come face to face with my family for the first time in 15 years. The reception was being held in a beautiful ballroom on the academy grounds. As we entered, I could see my family gathered near the head table, laughing and taking photos. They still hadn't noticed me. Commander Brooks guided me toward a group of naval officers standing near the bar. "Gentlemen, I'd like you to meet Admiral Hayes. She's recently been promoted and is now overseeing Pacific Fleet intelligence." The officers immediately stood at attention and showed me the respect due to my rank. We began talking about naval operations and current events, and I found myself relaxing for the first time all day. But then I heard a familiar voice behind me. "Excuse me, but I think there's been some mistake." I turned around to see my mother approaching our group, looking confused and slightly annoyed. "This is a private family event," she continued, addressing Commander Brooks. "I don't believe this woman is on our guest list." The naval officers looked uncomfortable, unsure of how to respond. Commander Brooks seemed puzzled by my mother's hostile tone. "Ma'am, this is Admiral Hayes," he said politely. "She's family. She's the groom's sister." My mother's face went pale. Her eyes traveled from my face to my uniform, taking in the stars on my collar and the rows of ribbons on my chest. For the first time in my life, I saw something in her expression that I had never seen before. Shock and maybe even fear. "That's impossible," she whispered. "Rachel she's—" But before she could finish her sentence, the ballroom doors opened and an honor guard marched in, followed by a figure that made everyone in the room freeze. The figure entering the ballroom was Admiral Thompson, the base commander and one of the most respected officers in the Navy. Every person in military uniform immediately stood at attention, and the civilian guests fell silent, sensing the importance of the moment. Admiral Thompson's eyes swept the room until they found me. He approached with purpose, his expression serious but respectful. "Admiral Hayes," he said, extending his hand. "I apologize for the interruption, but I just received word that you were here. I wanted to personally congratulate you on your recent promotion and thank you for your service." The room was dead silent. I could feel every eye on me as I shook his hand. "Thank you, Admiral Thompson. It's an honor to serve." He nodded and then turned to address the entire room. "Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you realize you're in the presence of one of our Navy's finest officers. Admiral Hayes has been instrumental in several classified operations that have kept our nation safe. She's a true credit to the service." I glanced over at my family. My mother looked like she might faint. My father's mouth was hanging open. Amanda was staring at me like she had never seen me before. And David was looking at me with an expression I couldn't quite read. Admiral Thompson continued speaking to the room, but I was focused on my family's reactions. 15 years of being dismissed as a failure, and now they were learning the truth about who I had become. After Admiral Thompson left, the room slowly returned to normal conversation, but I could feel people stealing glances at me. Word was spreading quickly about my identity and rank. Commander Brooks approached me again, this time with Jessica's father, Captain Martinez. "Admiral Hayes," Captain Martinez said. "I had no idea David's sister was in the Navy, let alone an admiral. This is quite an honor for our family." I smiled politely. "Congratulations on your daughter's wedding, Captain. She looks beautiful." As we talked, I noticed my family having what appeared to be an intense conversation near the head table. Amanda kept pointing in my direction, and my mother was shaking her head repeatedly. David was saying something that made my father's face turn red with anger. 20 minutes later, David finally approached me. He looked nervous and kept glancing back at our parents. "Rachel," he said quietly, I had no idea you were an admiral. Nobody told me." "You never asked," I replied simply. He shifted uncomfortably. "Listen, about the wedding invitation. Mom and Dad said they tried to contact you, but they couldn't find your information." I looked at him for a long moment. "David, Amanda called me specifically to tell me not to come. She said it would be awkward for everyone." His face went pale. She said, "What?" "It's okay," I said, even though it wasn't. "I understand. I've been gone a long time." "No, it's not okay," he said, and for the first time, I heard genuine emotion in his voice. "Rachel, I wanted you here. I've wanted you at every important moment in my life for the past 15 years. But they said you wanted nothing to do with us." I felt my heart skip. "What do you mean?" "They said you were angry about something that happened before you left for the Navy. They said you told them never to contact you again." The pieces were starting to fall into place. "David, I never said that. I stopped calling because every time I tried to share good news, I was told not to get my hopes up or that I was embarrassing the family." His face was a mixture of confusion and growing anger. "They said you were struggling in the military. They said you were barely getting by and were too proud to ask for help." I pulled out my phone and showed him a photo from my promotion ceremony. "Does this look like struggling to you?" He stared at the photo, taking in my uniform and the ceremony around me. "Rachel, when was this taken?" 3 months ago. I'm now one of the youngest admirals in Navy history." David sank into a nearby chair. "Oh God, what have we done?" Before I could respond, my father approached us. His face was stern, and I could see he was trying to maintain control of the situation. "Rachel," he said in a tone that was supposed to sound authoritative but came out uncertain. "I think we need to have a family discussion. Privately." "I think we're past private discussions, Dad," I said calmly. "Don't take that tone with me, young lady. I'm still your father." "Yes, you are," I agreed. "But I'm also a Rear Admiral in the United States Navy, and I've spent 15 years learning not to let anyone speak to me disrespectfully." My father's face turned red. "This uniform doesn't change who you are, Rachel. You're still the same girl who ran away from home because she couldn't handle responsibility." The conversations around us began to quiet as people sensed the tension. Several naval officers were now watching our exchange with interest. "I didn't run away, Dad. I joined the Navy to serve my country, and I've been serving it faithfully for 15 years while you've been telling people I was a failure." "We never said you were a failure," my mother interjected, approaching our group. "We were just worried about you. You cut off all contact with us. I stopped calling because every conversation ended with you telling me I was making mistakes or embarrassing the family. And when Amanda called 3 months ago, it was to uninvite me from David's wedding." "That's not what happened," Amanda said, joining our circle, but her voice lacked conviction. "Really?" I asked. Because I remember you saying it would be awkward for everyone if I came. The nearby conversations had stopped completely now. The naval officers were watching with fascination as my family's lies began to unravel in front of them. David stood up slowly. Amanda, is that true? Did you call Rachel to uninvite her? Amanda's face went red. It wasn't like that. Mom and Dad said. What did Mom and Dad say? David's voice was getting louder. They said she probably wouldn't want to come anyway. They said she was having a hard time and it would be embarrassing for her to be around successful people. The room was now completely silent. Even the wedding band had stopped playing. David turned to face our parents. Is this true? Have you been lying to me about Rachel for 15 years? My father tried to maintain his composure. Son, you don't understand. Rachel has always been. An admiral, David interrupted. She's been an admiral, Dad. While you were telling me she was struggling, she was serving our country with distinction. The tension in the room was becoming unbearable. Wedding guests were whispering to each other, and I could see that this confrontation was about to explode into something much bigger. Then, suddenly, the ballroom doors burst open again, and a man in a dark suit rushed in, heading straight for me with an expression of urgent panic on his face. The man in the dark suit was Agent Collins from Naval Intelligence. His face was pale with urgency as he approached me, completely ignoring the family drama unfolding around us. Admiral Hayes, he said breathlessly. I'm sorry to interrupt, but we have a code red situation. You're needed immediately. The room fell silent. Everyone understood that whatever was happening was serious enough to interrupt a wedding reception. I straightened, my military training taking over. What's the nature of the emergency, Agent Collins? Ma'am, we've intercepted communications suggesting a potential threat to Pacific Fleet operations. The Secretary of Defense is requesting your immediate presence in the Situation Room. I nodded, my mind already shifting into crisis mode. I'll be there in 10 minutes. As Agent Collins rushed out, I turned back to my family. The moment of military urgency had reminded everyone in the room exactly who I was and what I represented. I have to go, I said simply. David, congratulations on your wedding. Jessica, you look beautiful. But as I turned to leave, David grabbed my arm. Rachel, wait. We need to finish this conversation. David, people's lives might be at stake. This is my job. When, he asked desperately. When can we talk about this? When can we fix this? I looked at him, then at my parents and Amanda. 15 years of lies and manipulation couldn't be undone in a single conversation, especially not at his wedding. I don't know, I said honestly. I really don't know. As I walked toward the exit, I heard my father calling after me. Rachel, don't you dare walk away from this family again. I stopped and turned around. The entire ballroom was watching us, including dozens of naval officers who served under my command or alongside me. My parents had just accused me of abandoning my family in front of my professional colleagues. I didn't walk away 15 years ago, Dad. I was pushed away, and I'm not walking away now. I'm responding to a national security crisis, because that's what I do. That's who I am. My mother stepped forward. Rachel, please. Can't someone else handle this? We're your family. We should come first. The question hung in the air, and I could see the naval officers exchanging glances. They knew what the right answer was, and they were waiting to see if I would give it. Mom, when you serve in the military, your country comes first. Always. That's what service means. Admiral Thompson, who had been observing from across the room, approached our group. Mrs. Hayes, your daughter is one of our most valuable assets. When she's called to duty, it's because lives depend on her expertise. My father looked at Admiral Thompson with barely concealed resentment. She's been hiding behind this military career for 15 years, avoiding her responsibilities to her family. Sir, Admiral Thompson replied, his voice carrying the authority of decades of command. Your daughter has been serving her country with distinction. She's saved lives, protected national security, and earned the respect of everyone who serves with her. I would hardly call that hiding. The confrontation was escalating beyond anything I had imagined. My family's lies were being exposed in front of the entire naval community, and I could see that my parents were becoming more desperate to maintain their version of events. "You don't understand," my mother said to Admiral Thompson. "Rachel has always been difficult. She's always chosen to put herself first instead of thinking about her family." "Ma'am," Admiral Thompson replied, "I've read Admiral Hayes' service record. She's volunteered for every dangerous assignment, worked 18-hour days, and sacrificed personal relationships for the good of her country. That's not someone who puts herself first." David was staring at our parents with growing horror. "Mom, Dad, what have you done?" Before anyone could answer, Agent Collins reappeared at the ballroom entrance. "Admiral Hayes, we really need to go. The situation is escalating." I nodded and started walking toward the exit again, but this time David followed me. "Rachel, wait," he said as we reached the ballroom doors. "I need you to know something. I never wanted you excluded from my life. I've missed you every single day for 15 years. I stopped and looked at him. For the first time since I'd arrived, I saw genuine emotion in his eyes. "I've missed you too, David, but I can't deal with this right now. People are counting on me." "I know," he said, "and I'm proud of you. I should have said that 15 years ago, but I'm saying it now. I'm proud of my sister, the Admiral." Tears stung my eyes, but I couldn't let them fall. "Not here, not now." "Thank you," I whispered. "That means more than you know." As I reached the exit, I heard my father's voice one last time. "Rachel, if you leave now, don't bother coming back." I turned around to face him, and this time I didn't try to hide my anger. "Dad, I tried to come back. I've been trying to come back for 15 years. But every time I reached out, you made it clear I wasn't welcome. You told lies about me to keep me away from my own family. You convinced David that I wanted nothing to do with him. You destroyed our relationships with your lies." The room was completely silent. Even the wedding staff had stopped what they were doing to watch. "So let me be clear," I continued. "I'm not leaving because I want to. I'm leaving because my country needs me. And when this crisis is over, I'll be back. Not because I need this family, but because David deserves to know the truth about what happened." I walked out of the ballroom with my head held high, leaving behind 15 years of lies and the shocked faces of my family. But as I got into the car with Agent Collins, I couldn't shake the feeling that this confrontation was far from over. What I didn't know was that my parents had one final card to play, and they were about to use it in a way that would shock even me. 3 days later, I was still in the secure briefing room dealing with the national security crisis when my phone buzzed with an urgent message from David. The text was simple but alarming. "Rachel, you need to see the news." "I'm so sorry." During a brief break in the briefings, I pulled up the local news website on my secure tablet. The headline hit me like a punch to the gut. "Local family speaks out about daughter's military career. She abandoned us for glory." The article featured a photo of my parents and Amanda sitting in their living room, looking somber and disappointed. My mother was quoted extensively. "Rachel left home 15 years ago and cut off all contact with us," she told the reporter. "We tried to reach out, but she wanted nothing to do with her family. She was always ambitious, always looking for attention. The military gave her the recognition she craved, but at what cost?" My father's quote was even worse. "We're proud of her service, of course, but we wish she hadn't chosen career over family. She missed birthdays, holidays, family emergencies. We haven't heard from her in years." Amanda's contribution was the most painful. I reached out to her recently about my brother's wedding, hoping to reconnect. But she made it clear she was too important now to spend time with regular people like us. The article painted me as a cold, ambitious woman who had used military service to escape family responsibilities. It made no mention of the lies they had told, the way they had pushed me away, or the fact that they had actively uninvited me from the wedding. I stared at the screen in disbelief. Even now, even after the truth had been exposed at the wedding, they were still trying to control the narrative. My phone rang. It was Admiral Thompson. "Rachel, I've seen the article. I want you to know that everyone in your command knows the truth about your character. This won't affect your career." "Thank you, sir. But it's not my career I'm worried about. It's my brother. He finally knows the truth, and now they're trying to undo that." "What do you want to do about it?" I thought for a moment. For 15 years, I had stayed silent, letting my family tell whatever story they wanted about me. I had taken the high road, focusing on my service and my duties, but now they had crossed a line. "I want to set the record straight," I said, "but I want to do it right." 2 hours later, I was sitting across from Jennifer Martinez, the same reporter who had interviewed my family. She had agreed to meet with me after I reached out through official Navy channels. "Admiral Hayes," she began, "I have to say, I was surprised when your office contacted me. Your family gave a very different picture of your relationship with them." I nodded. "That's why I'm here. I want to tell you the truth, but I need you to know that I'm not doing this for revenge. I'm doing it because lies have consequences, and those consequences have hurt people I care about." For the next hour, I laid out the real story. I showed her phone records proving that I had tried to maintain contact with my family for years. I provided documentation of my military achievements and the timeline of my promotions. I even played her the voicemail Amanda had left 3 months ago, where she explicitly told me not to come to the wedding. "This is quite different from what your family told me," Jennifer said. "I know, and I understand why they told those lies. They were embarrassed that they had misjudged me so badly. But their lies have cost me 15 years with my brother, and I won't let them cost me any more." The new article was published the next day. This time the headline read, "Admiral sets record straight. I never abandoned my family." The article included copies of my military commendations, testimony from Admiral Thompson and other officers about my character, and the phone records showing my attempts to maintain contact with my family. It also included Amanda's voicemail, where she clearly uninvited me from the wedding. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Social media exploded with support for me. Veterans organizations issued statements praising my service. Even strangers began reaching out to share their own stories of family betrayal and military service. But the most important response came from David. He called me that evening while I was finally heading home from the crisis briefings. "Rachel, I've read everything. I've seen all the evidence. I know what really happened now. David, I'm sorry you had to learn about it this way. I never wanted to hurt you." "You didn't hurt me," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "They did. They stole 15 years from us, Rachel. 15 years of birthdays and holidays and phone calls. They made me believe that my sister didn't love me. I had to pull over to the side of the road because tears were making it hard to see. I never stopped loving you, David. Not for a single day. I know that now, and I need you to know something. Jessica and I are having a second ceremony next month. A small one, just for the people who really matter to us. You're going to be my best man." I laughed through my tears. Women can't be best men, David. My wedding, my rules. Will you do it? "Yes," I said without hesitation. "I'll be there." 1 month later, I stood beside my brother at a small ceremony in his backyard. This time, I was on the guest list. This time, I was wanted. This time, I was home. My parents and Amanda were notably absent. After the truth came out, they had doubled down on their lies, insisting that I had somehow manipulated the evidence. But David and Jessica had made their choice. They chose truth over comfort, love over lies. As David and Jessica exchanged vows for the second time, I thought about the journey that had brought us here. 15 years of separation. built on lies and maintained by pride. But in the end, truth had won out. After the ceremony, David pulled me aside. "Rachel, I have something to tell you. Jessica is pregnant." My heart soared. "David, that's wonderful. We want you to be the godmother. We want our child to grow up knowing their Aunt Rachel, the admiral who serves her country with honor." I hugged him tightly, thinking about the phone call that had started this whole ordeal. Amanda had called to uninvite me from a wedding, thinking she was protecting her family from embarrassment. Instead, she had set in motion a chain of events that revealed the truth and brought David and me back together. Sometimes the best revenge isn't getting even. Sometimes it's simply living well and letting the truth speak for itself. As I looked around at the small gathering of people who truly cared about David and Jessica, I realized that family isn't just about blood. It's about the people who choose to stand by you, who celebrate your successes, and who love you for who you are. I had spent 15 years building a new family in the Navy, surrounded by people who respected my service and valued my contributions. And now, finally, I had my brother back too. The little girl who had been called a failure, who had been pushed away and forgotten, was gone. In her place stood Admiral Rachel, a woman who had learned that sometimes you have to lose everything to find out who you really are. And sometimes, if you're very lucky, the people who matter most will find their way back to you.